Hey everyone, welcome to Just the Taste. The holiday season just finished rolling around. And one of my ultimate favorite things about the holidays is the food. Today I'm going to show you how to make something simple that you can take to these family get-togethers and it'll be the highlight of the party. Alright, so our ingredients that we're using today is some cilantro. We're going to use some onion. We're going to use a whole tomato and a whole serrano pepper. Now that lime, we'll talk about that little guy later. He's really not essential right now, but he is a key factor to your salsa tasting amazing. So let me just show you here what I'm doing. I'm just going to get this little saucer pan. It's tiny. I really like using this little blue one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my tomato in there along with the serrano pepper. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill it with water, make sure it's covered. And we're just going to move it over and we're going to let it boil. Now I have it a little bit lower than medium, around 4. Just like I said, just so it gets nice boil. And you're going to know when it's done, when it starts looking like this. Now the tomato is going to be real tender, real soft. That serrano pepper will also get kind of a soft texture to it. Now as that's boiling, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get my onion. And I'm just going to chop off a little piece here. Go. And I'm going to dice this up. Now try to get it as squarish as you can. Nice little squares. I have many layers here that I'm going to do this over and over. Now this is essential because what we're going to do is we're going to move it over and saute it, and the onion is going to give a nice little flavor to your salsa. So that's why it's very important we dice it just a little bit here. I like using a knife. Now other people, I guess you can use a dicer. Those, I don't know if they still sell those, but I'll just cut them into little squares here. And try not to cut my fingers. Okay, one more. And almost. Okay, there we go. Now I'm sorry, I know the onion's white. I'm using a white cutting board. I should have used something better to contrast it with. Okay, so now we got our onions. There you go. Diced onions. See, try to get it to look just like that. Let me get it focused here a little bit. There you go. See, just if you can just cube them up like that, that'll be great. Now we're going to go over to our pan. Now I've already got some oil here. I'm just going to add just a little bit. And you don't want to use too much. It's just a light coat. And just make sure you really spread it around there nice and good. There you go. Now what we're going to be doing up here, now I have this also just below medium. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this onion. Now you got to let it heat up though, of course. Alright, we're going to get our diced onions and just going to top it in there. Okay. And then the cilantro too. We're just going to get that nice and rinsed. Throw it in there, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna leave it here, kind of mix it around, saute it for a little bit, just until the onion gets kind of clear and brown. Right now I'll show you what I mean by that. So just let it cook. Yeah, it should look something like this. That'll work. Now we're ready for our salsa. So as we've been doing that, I've let the tomato and the serrano pepper cool. I'm just going to take it out here. Now it's still kind of warm, but not too much where I can't touch them. I'm just going to check the pepper here, make sure it's got a nice good texture all around. Okay, so now this is the good part. Now you can use a blender. I have this stone that I like to use, but anyone can use a blender. My mother uses a blender. Now what I'm just going to wet the stone here. Okay, and really so much because it hurts my ears when I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel off the outer layer of the tomato. There you go. And now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to do this in chunks, right? So I'm going to put the first chunk in there. Okay. Now I'm going to cut the serrano pepper right down the middle, and I'm going to chop it up just into a couple of little cubes. There you go. Pop it in there. Now add some water to my stone. And I'm just going to start to puree this. Alright. really just start to grind it together. Alright. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to also add the other half of the tomato and the other half of the serrano pepper. There you go. Add some more water there so I can continue to puree it. Okay, there you go. Now here's the other tomato and the other serrano pepper. I'm going to cut the serrano pepper the same way I did the first one, into pieces. And there we go. And just continue smashing all that together. Now it's alright if you make a mess, just make sure you kind of pick up after yourself here. Just gonna wipe the rim. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over, I'm going to get the onion with the cilantro, and I'm just going to add it into our salsa mix. There we go. I'm trying not to get too much oil, right? Because we don't want the oil, we want the onion and the cilantro in there. So there we go. Good. Now I'm just going to continue and I'm going to mix this all together. Oh, that already looks really good. Now, very, very, very important. You do not touch your eyes after you've been doing this, or at any point. You wash your hands several times. You don't touch a baby. I would not recommend touching someone after you've done this, unless you've thoroughly washed your hands. But there you go. Just going to mix it all together here. Nice. Yeah, I can still feel the clump of the tomato in the bottom, so I'm just going to continue. There you go. Just to break it all up and get a nice good texture. Now you can add some water if you want your salsa to be a little bit more watery. I didn't. I thought this was just fine for me, so I left it as it is. Really all just depends on you, on how the viscosity of your salsa, how you want that. So I'm just going to clean up the bowl here. And there we go. You see? It's got a nice good texture. Now I'm going to grab that lime here and cut it in half. I'm only going to use half one. So I'm going to go with the bigger side. And just going to take the stone out. And let's get a good squeeze here. There you go. Oh, look at that. It looks so delicious. Okay. So now just going to add some salt. There you go. And that's it. Now just going to transfer it over to another bowl, and you're good to go.